I've only been doing this for years, and I finally figured out how to open it up in a full screen. So anyway, thank you all for being here today. I very much appreciate the value of your time, spending your pre-lunch hour with me, or 2 hours with me, I guess I would say. We've got a lot to do today. Hi, Linda. Hey, Marcus. Got a lot to do today, so thank you all for being here. Let's go ahead and get started. We are at the Greater San Diego Association of Realtors, and my name is Kevin Burke. And there is my telephone number, and there is my email address, and I very much want to help you if you're having issues or anything that you're doing in the MLS. It's been kind of a baby of mine for a very long time, and so I want to make sure that you are okay. And again, thank you for being here. Email is usually the best way to get a hold of me. If you send me an email, I'm more than happy to. Hi, Antusa. More than happy to respond. Sometimes I respond at 11, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. So probably the email's better than the telephone call, unless of course you're up, and I'm more than happy to take that call as well. So that being said, I have some credentials, I guess, that make me qualified to speak about the subject matter. I actually could be, because we're going to be talking about the multiple listing service. I actually go back way before there was a multiple listing service back in the 70s. When we had what we called dumb terminals, and that's where we would save all of our MLS data on just one computer. There was no internet, or well, there was, the Fed had it, but there's nothing available to the public. And so we literally had everything on one single computer. And so I was in an office that had 12 computers. Every one of them had different information on them. There was no intranet, no internet. And then fast forward to today, I'm so glad I'm not doing business today the way that I was doing back in 1979 and 1980 and 81. And I remember it very vividly. And so we're in a great place today with our MLS and the things that we have going on. So again, been an agent, been a licensee for well over 40 years in several states, currently a broker in California and Virginia, teaching both. I'm a certified instructor in both. And other than that, there you go. So it's all about me. I'm all about risk management, as you can tell. Let's go ahead and get on with the show. We're going to be talking about stuff that appears to be legal. This is my legal admonition thing. I am not a practicing attorney. I literally have no intentions whatsoever of practicing law. And I realized that in my third year of law school. I just knew that there was just no way. I was having way too much fun in real estate. And so hopefully you are as well. And if you're not, you need to reach out to me. Let's talk and let's find out what's going on that you're not having as much fun as I am, because I just love this business. It is just way too much fun. My trial work, and I do spend a lot of time in court, limited to testifying as an expert witness. And that's going to be a standard of care for real estate licensees. And let me see here. Can I get your contact again? Okay, yes. Actually, Marcus, I'm going to have it. Let me fly back really quick. I'm sorry. Okay, so there's my contact information. I'm going to show you again at the end, and then and thank you for asking the question, because what I do in my presentation, when I'm done with the presentation, the association takes it, and then they go through, take out all my bad language and stuff like that. And I kid about that, of course. But I also load all of these up onto my YouTube website. I'm going to have a QR code for you to scan if you want to do that. I'm going to give you a shortcut link to get there. All my videos are up there at Burke Real Estate Consultants, Inc. That'll get you there. There's a million ways to get there. Okay. And so I want you to have them. And I load them all up. Like I said, by this evening, I'll have loaded both of these. And then Thursday, I'll do 2 more. So that being said, standard of care is my specialty. Did the real estate agent do what they were supposed to do? Did they follow the protocol for the standard of care? Agents' duties of inspection and disclosure. Interestingly enough, I'm doing a transaction right now, or one of Linda's agents is doing a transaction with an agent up considerably north of here, and the other agent's been doing this not quite as long as I have, but it's amazing to me to look at the varying degrees of adoption, varying degrees of how much people really understand what's going on in the business. And again, my job, I feel, is to help. I'm paying back what people that helped me when I was early in my career. So market conditions in San Diego rounds out my big three. The conversation today not intended to be a substitute for the advice of your broker, nor for that of your attorney. Please consult with them as appropriate. You are paying them to be there. So they want to hear from you. At least I believe that they do. I mean, in our office, in Linda's office, we worry about the people we don't hear from. So I don't know, maybe not everybody works that way. So our webinars are intended to be interactive. Please utilize the Q&A button as Marcus, you already have, which is good. Thank you. To ask questions, offer input. I do look forward to hearing from you. I really do. And a lot of times, like this class is on, on a topic that I just have a blast with. But you may want me to head in a different direction on that. So if you ask the question, I'm going to answer it and hopefully be able to take care of it pretty quick for you. So today we're doing searches. So this is going to be from 10 o'clock this morning until noon. And then this afternoon, I'm going to be doing MLS open house safety. I was asked by a very large brokerage in San Diego to do a talk on that subject the other day. It just surprises me what kind of situations we get ourselves into that we really shouldn't get ourselves into. So we'll talk a little bit about that this afternoon. And then on Thursday, one of my favorite subjects, certainly the most watched video that I have created, is how to read a preliminary title report. And again, as you saw on the earlier screen, I do teach continuing education for attorneys. And this is one of the subject matters, is I teach them how to essentially create title. So, it's a little bit over the top for what you want to do, but for this purposes here, I'm going to take you through that prelim, and you won't worry about the field case or any of the other things that have gone on. You will realize that you actually have pretty good knowledge of how to understand that document. Okay, so that, and then in the afternoon on Thursday, we'll be doing the top 10 risk avoidance techniques, my little anthology on how to keep yourself out of trouble. I think more than anything else. I was asked in a deposition the other day. The attorney asked me, how many times have you been in court? And I said, well, quite a few. And then they said, well, how many of those because you were a party to the lawsuit? And I said, well, actually none. I hadn't thought about it at the time. I don't know, maybe I should knock on wood or something, but I've never been there. I've never been there on my own account. It's always on somebody else's account. So how does anybody go 44 years and not have those issues? And so again, it's just take care of everybody, be nice to people, return phone calls, stuff like that. But we're going to go through that on Thursday, top 10 risk avoidance techniques. And so today, welcome to MLS week. All of last week, we talked about MLS stuff. This week, actually the first part of this week, we'll talk about MLS stuff. As you saw on Thursday, we'll head into a couple of other areas. So member benefits, thank you for joining us for our discussion of Paragon searches. Okay, and so I've got a little bit of a PowerPoint, not a whole lot, a couple of items in here. I want to do essentially a summary of, because I like to summarize, what we're going to do, kind of thing. And now people are emailing or texting or doing something. I'm not sure what they're doing, but okay, so I don't know why they do that. Let's turn that off. All right, I apologize. Anyway, so practically speaking, the number one MLS skill in your quiver of arrows really needs to be the ability to find properties. So we're going to talk today. Everything else you can outsource, you can delegate. Okay, you have transaction coordinators. You have, we're a transaction management company. We handle transactions for salespeople, brokers all over, and so you can outsource a lot of that stuff. Today we're going to talk about how to set up the preferences wizard. We're going to talk and to make it DRE NAR compliant. Okay, so Department of Real Estate, National Association of Realtors, we need to be sensitive to the fact that they are watching what we do. In fact, I remember in a meeting with the district manager for the Department of Real Estate, and she said, we look at your emails. I mean, certainly whenever there's a case that comes up where the emails get in front of the Department of Real Estate, they can see that whether or not you are compliant, and they have held that the MLS is first contact. And remember, first contact means that they think that that is one of your first public exposures to people, and they want to make sure that you have your DRE number in there. And again, it is first contact. Is it necessary to do it throughout, once you've made contact? I do, sometimes I'll not put the crazy signature line on there with all the stuff in it. But certainly within 2 or 3 emails of each other, I'm not sure I have to, take up all that much room. But anyway, bottom line is, yeah, you need to make sure your MLS search is compliant. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. So we're going to go looking at power searches for properties. We're going to look at regular search for properties both in San Diego and Riverside County. And by the way, pretty much most everything south of the 10, okay, of I-10. And we're going to talk about how to save the searches, and we're going to and why it makes sense to only have it in SDMLS. Because frankly, you can go looking in the other MLSs, but you can't save a search unless you are a subscriber to those MLSs, and you can't save a listing. Those are the 2 big issues. Otherwise, all right, if you could join another MLS, I would recommend against it. I think that this is probably the best one you're going to be involved in. And then we're going to talk about the collaboration center really quick, not the 2-hour presentation, but just how to save something into the collaboration center. And so let's go ahead. Let's log into the multiple listing service. And again, please, let me know if you've got anything going on that you need me to talk about. But let me close some of this stuff over here so that we don't have all of our bandwidth gone. So I can close that window. Can I close that one? There we go. Okay, so we are at the what's referred to as the San Diego 1 page, and so they call it the 1 page because this is the page where we set up single sign-on. So when you look at this page and you go through here, you see all of the programs that SDAR has created or has created alliances with to give you essentially free. Most all this is free. Okay, now there's some of it you have to, if you're going to, they hit you for the upgrades and stuff like that. But SDAR is done. They've already given it to you. You've got all these programs in here, single sign-on, all available. So we're going to click on Paragon really quick and take us into the Paragon program. Okay, and so I don't know why I have 2 Paragons, but apparently I do. I have 2 Paragons, and so let's just do 1 Paragon. All right, and by the way, I'm going to go over here. My home button is the equivalent of refresh. So I just want to make sure I am currently logged in. Okay, so here's where we're going to go. Over here, and again, we're talking about searches. So over here, the first thing I wanted to look at was my preferences wizard. So see here, preferences. I'm going to click on preferences. I'm going to go over here to the right-hand side, although technically speaking, you could accomplish this over here on the left-hand side, but let's go to just a preferences wizard. And again, we have a whole class we do on Collab Center. We have a whole class we do on the CMA. So let's take care of this. This is the easy one. This is the first one you should ever do, okay? And so this is, it has an explanation in here. You can redo this. You can do all kinds of stuff. It's only 16 pages. This is page number 2. This is where I'm looking at my picture to see if it's something that I like. If I don't like it, I can go up here. I can add or update a photo. I can trash the photo. So I think this is one of the last pictures of me wearing a tie. And then I tried to retire, but the system just won't let me do it. So I'm going to go to my next button. But you see all this stuff. They talk about all these things in here that you could do, image size, stuff like that. They actually have some pretty good software in this program to resize images. And then I go to my logo. And I'm realizing that's not the logo Linda wants it to be, but okay, I'll update that at some point. But that's my logo. You can see the logo behind me, kind of my banner. So that's the logo is in there. The assume identity feature, I really like assume identity feature. This is the part where I can, with other people within your own office, you can share information back and forth. So for example, Linda is our broker. There's Linda. I can click on that button and I can share data with her. So in other words, I log in under my username and password. I do not have Linda's username and password. I log in under my username and password, and then I share identities with her, okay? So am I able to do that here? I think I can. I go back up here. See right here, this button that says assume identity. That's where I would go to assume identity with Linda, okay? And I think I might have just blown it and collapsed what we were working on. Let me see, can I get that back again? Well, we can get there pretty quick. Here we go. That was my assume identity. I have a handful of agents that want me to help them with that. Market monitor. Now, if you look over on the right-hand side of the screen, you can currently see it's a little bit grayed out because I'm in this one as an active window, but that's what my market monitor does. And so, for example, it's going to give me a snapshot really quick. We used to call it a hot sheet back 30 years ago. We called it a hot sheet. I like it better today than I did then, because back then the hot sheet, you printed it. It really didn't stay on your screen. But it was a whole separate thing. Now I can do multiple things on the one screen. All right. So this is my market monitor. Anytime I see a magnifying glass, that means that there's a list behind it. And so in my case here, I've said pretty much all properties. So my market monitor, I don't have anything picked out specific. Under class, under type, I have attached, detached, manufactured home, townhome, twin home. And again, I can change this. I can click the little X and get rid of things. I can add things to it. And then I put in my service area, which happens to be Del Mar, La Jolla, Rancho Santa Fe, Solana Beach, and Carmel Valley. That's for my zip code and area. So this is someplace where you want to go in and actually edit your settings, okay? And so again, I'm slowing it down just a little bit because I want to make sure that everybody's with me on that. Anybody have any questions about this so far? Notice County of San Diego, but I can always go in there. I can look at Riverside County. I can do all kinds of things. So default section is going to show up in my market. And then my days default back means how many days are you going to go back. So I'm going to get different results. So for example, I have it currently set at 3 days. If you look over on the right-hand side of your screen, you see this is all the activity. Here's my 3 days again. Okay, so I can change it from in here, or I can just change it from that screen over there. Okay, everybody good? All right, moving forward. My default search criteria, and I'm going to tell you it is best for you to keep the default unless you're really savvy on how to take all this stuff apart, because the biggest thing about taking it apart is getting back to where you were that you were comfortable with. So I always recommend keeping the default settings. So load the default search criteria, enable lookup long descriptions, things like that. So this is a whole bunch of stuff in here. Click to establish the default address and the zoom level. Now I want to show you this because when you go to a map search, the map search is going to take you to, it's going to always put the red pin where your office is. Now my office has moved, so I want to move my red pin. So I'm going to pull my red pin down here and take it down a little bit closer to where my office actually is, because we used to be on High Bluff, but now we've moved down to south of the 56. Now we're down here in what's referred to as the Ruth Chris building. So I'm proud to say. So I just moved my red pin. Now, what's the question? Enthusiasm, forgive me. Searching or finding oh yes, Antusia, let's talk about that off screen, okay? Love to chat with you about that. You just let me know, give me a holler, send me an email, let me know what's a good time for you. I'm apolitical, as you know. So anyway, I've dropped my pin down here where essentially where Ruth Chris is. I think that's the building right there. And then I'm going to click save. So if you find that when we do the map search later, you'll see that now the pin is at the right place. Whereas before it was at the place where my office used to be. They literally shut the building down, not because I was there, but they shut the building down because they needed to, I don't know, do renovations or something. And so we moved to a different place. So anyway, so that's how I just did that. I had that, and people call me all the time and say, how do I do that? And it's right in here. This is the place you're going to do it. Map boundary by default, and that enable the map boundary by default. Yes. Zoom out to display all this. Yes. Lines only for the parcel layer. I mean, you could do other things in here too, but I like the lines. Default map view. I like the hybrid because then that way I can see the topo, the topographical information as well as the streets, things like that. 50 searches per page, I think is plenty. And then I absolutely use CRS tax autofill. I love tax autofill. And when I do the class on that, I always have a really good time. So, and one of the things I do is that, how to find all those pre-foreclosure properties. You'd be shocked at how many are out there and how nobody's working these things. Okay. So now I get my results options. I'm going to leave this the way that it is again. This here listing detailed results. Agent preferred is the one that I created that I like, showing statistics, et cetera, and then other reports and things like that. And then of course, here's my phone number down here. And if you see, I only have one number 3 times apparently, but I only have the one phone number. I give everybody that number. I am extension number 4. The minute the voice comes on, hit the 4 button, it takes you wherever I'm sitting. In fact, right now, if you, I'm not in my office, but right now, if you were to call that number and hit the number 4, it's going to ring where I'm sitting, not in my office. So you'll always get a hold of me. I pride myself in being very accessible. The attorneys that call me say, I can't believe it. We get you every time. It's like, well, yeah, unless I'm on a call or on a webinar. So let's go ahead. My next button is selecting a theme. Now, this is another one of the most popular questions that I get from people is, how do you get those really cool beach theme things up here? Let me see. Can I move this down? No, well, let me move it. Okay. So up here, I've got the beach theme. I've got the bucket. I've got the palm trees. I've got the bathing suits. I got the sun. How do you get that? Well, here it is. Select a theme. So I'm changing my theme. So I can be beach. I can be Canada. See how it changes the background to Canada. I can be, I'm with the red people, right? Or I could be with the spring is in the air, which of course it isn't right now. I think we're heading into summer. So July 4th is coming up in a couple of weeks, so I can have a whole theme. Does everybody see what I'm doing? You can have a whole theme in the background that says, this is my July 4th theme coming up. All right. And so today's the 13th, probably a little early to do that. So I'm going to take that back out again. But obviously, I can do Midwest. I can do all these things. I like the beach theme. And part of the reason why I like the beach theme is because I figure you can buy houses anywhere, but you can't buy the beach anywhere. And so, and trust me on this personal experience, the West Coast and the East Coast are 2 completely separate beaches. They are very, very different from each other. The West Coast, you can really use the beaches. On the East Coast, it gets a little mucky, if you know what I mean. Okay, so advanced menu layout, I'm going to leave that alone. Display on the icons on the action bar, that's fine. If I take that off, then things will change. But background print for Chrome, MLS default. I'm going to leave. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to leave all this alone. Okay, everybody good? Okay, so then I'm going to go up here to my next button again, and I'm at my number of contacts to display again 50. I don't have that many in there. I don't compete with our agents, with Linda's agents. And most of my work is half my time I'm on the phone with attorneys, the other half I'm on the phone with brokers or somebody that has issues that they're trying to resolve. So, and here's my contact activity widget. And again, this represents now on the lower right hand corner of your screen down here. And I thought I made that cursor bigger, but down there is who's been doing anything in the collaboration center in the last 3 days. Okay, all right, that's what that means. And then I'm going to select my time zone, of course, Pacific time zone, although you can be from, where else could you be from? Almost anywhere you want to be, Alaska, Central, whatever. Pacific is what I'm going to do because I'm there, my clients are there. And then calendar notification options. When a listing is about to expire, I want to know about it. Contact tasks, tours and open houses, things like that. Clicking my next button again. Mobile number. I don't give out my mobile number. People that text me, I block them. So it's that simple. I'm actually working with an agent right now who only does texting, doesn't do email. All of the contracts we send him all go into his spam folder. He intentionally doesn't do email because he thought he was getting a virus one day. I think he just had a cold. Oh my God. Anyway, if I tell you, so that's kind of the way that is. I realize my microphone is way the heck over there. I apologize for that. Hopefully, can you hear me a little better? Okay. So anyway, I don't put a mobile number in there. If you want to put a mobile number in there, if you want to be able to text listings to people, you'll need to put a mobile number in there. Or later on, when you try to do it, it'll tell you, you need to have a mobile phone number in there in order to be able to text listings to people. Okay. So that's your call if you want to give people your mobile phone number. All right. So again, the next message. email verification status. We've already verified that my email is good. There it is again. Antusia, it's Kevin at BurkeRealEstateConsultants.com. Auto-populate the BCC. I used to do that when I first started in the MLS. And then I said, you know what? I'm getting copied on everything. And I had, at that time, I did have a lot of clients that I was working with. Now all my clients are essentially what we call repeat offenders, right? They just keep coming back. So I don't need to copy myself because I know what they're looking at. Auto-populating email in the message body. Yes, I want that. I don't do read receipts. And I think the reason is that I get annoyed when people send me an email and then it says, confirm, no. And there's a lot of legal stuff behind that, but suffice it to say, I just don't do it. Display property address in the emailed reports. Yes. One of the things we're going to talk about today is the different ways of getting the listings, the listings to your client. Okay, we're going to talk about, do you email them or do you send them through a collab center? We'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, and then I'm already up to number 14. I like them going out every day. I like them going out at 5 a.m. I mean, at 5 a.m. I'm already an hour into my day, right? Because I'm up at 4 every day. I sleep between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. So, but I know that a lot of people like to get up in the morning and then there it is, rather than all of a sudden it comes in at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock and they're at their office and they got to go home to see it and stuff like that. So I'm usually a 5 o'clock in the morning guy. Expiration, recurrence expiration. I've got it 3 months. Listen, if they haven't bought a house for me in 3 months, we need to talk, right? And I'll have that conversation. And obviously you've been talking with them. The worst thing that you and I can do is set these people up on an automatic thing. And we're going to lose them, okay? Because there's just too much out there, too much, we used to call it chaff in the military, where you have too many distractions, other people hitting them up to work with them and stuff like that are actually in front of them. So, so then number 15, here's my standard message. Please let me know if I can help. I mean, that's what I'm here for. That's what I believe I'm here for. And I do hope you have a good day. And so there's my phone number with the extension in it and all that. And by the way, DRE compliant, and this is what I was talking about earlier. So I must, for NAR says I must have my affiliation with my company. And so here it is, Burke Real Estate Consultants. Okay, so I've satisfied NAR's requirement, right? My affiliation with the broker. Okay, and then DRE says I must have my DRE number. Now I put in both. In fact, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to switch these around. Well, no, I'm going to leave them alone. So California Department of Real Estate corporate broker number, because we are a corporation. Linda is the head of the court. She's the broker for the corporation. I'm an officer on the corporation. And then I have my personal DRE broker number, which is 01000175. Yes, I got my license back when DIRT was being formed. And so, and folks, I think you should have a broker's license. And if you don't have one, talk to me because I can help you get one. I've helped people get them that never thought they'd ever get them. So again, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to get you dialed in on that. Remember, you pass the test once, right? It's the same test for broker. There's 50 more questions. Only 23 of them are unique to the broker. So, it's really pretty much the same test again. So, talk to me about that off camera. So, and finally, my next button is, here's my default signature. Why did they do that twice? So that's interesting. Here's my standard message. Here's my default email signature. And again, it contains all the necessary components as well. Okay. Everybody good with that? I'm pretty much done. That's my 16. And so I'm going to hit my close button. So now I've done my preferences wizard. So then remember the next thing, well, first of all, any questions about any of that? Because I want to make sure you're covered on this. And that's always a good opportunity for me to get a drink of water. Okay, nope. All right. So we'll move forward. Okay, next thing I wanted to show you was my power search. This is such a cool tool. Nobody ever uses it, but there's a lot of really neat things that happen in here. And notice the little question mark pops up. Oops, I didn't want that to happen. Anyway, I'll go back over here again. I click in the link and look at it. It opens up a text box on the left-hand side. It says, use voice or text to search listings, save searches, contacts, members, and offices. Nobody ever uses this, and I don't know why. It's really a great program. And if your computer has that voice capability, or you're on the laptop, you can speak to it and things like that. You just go over here and you click on the microphone button.
right? And it'll do it for you. So let's go ahead. It's going to be one of those things that's going to autofill. So let's say I always pull up the property I sold and wished I hadn't. And that's 811 America Way. I love that place. And so I started typing in 811. Look at it, gives me a list of all the possible 811s. Then I'm going to hit my space bar, and then I'm going to start to type America. And then look what it's doing. So now it's pulling up all of the 811s. See all the 811s? And then we've got AM. And so I've got my 811 America Way shows up right away. It's an active listing in the MLS. So again, I sold this to Zerboni, I think his name was, and he has put it back on the market as a rental. I hope that means he's doing well. Fine man. Again, I regret selling it to him. I wish I hadn't, but I don't know. It's sold, right? I buy and I sell houses all the time. I hope you do too. You should be doing that, right? You should be investing in your product. And so here we go. The other thing I wanted to just show you really fast is down here, what these little icons do. There's the map, there's the history of the property. I frequently look at the history to see when the price changed, whether it went up or down, stuff like that. But I've also got other things in here like my CRS tax data search. So I can always click on this button and it'll pull up the tax report. You can see that, yes, that pulls up the tax report. So those little icons down there at the bottom really do a lot of stuff. I kind of like that. And again, I can get all the information, I really need to know about the property. Okay. So we're not here yet, but we're going to, over here, we're going to come back to this later. We're going to save a search, but I want to show you what that looks like first. And so here's the tax data that pulled up on that property. Okay. Everybody with me so far? Are we all good? I'm going to go back and let's go back up here. So that was my, let's go back to the home page really quick. So that was my, we did the search up here at the top. That was my power search. Okay, I'm going to take that out. I have a, whoops, sorry. I have a quick search. I'm trying not to move around too fast. A quick search over here on the left. I'm going to tell you, honestly, I never use it. And part of the reason is I'm pretty comfortable with the rest of my search. Okay, but you can use it. It's not a bad thing to do. It works for some people that would rather have it. And you can also edit it to work within what parameters you want it to have. So for example, I edited it down here. Well, you edit it up here. You click on this widget button right there. You click on widget and it says, what fields do you want over there? And what I did the last time I did this, I added listing or selling agents. So I can look up somebody's production, perhaps. I'm doing a transaction with an agent. How busy are they? If they've got 25 listings and nothing's pending and they haven't sold a home in 5 years, then probably they're just really strong listing agents and just kind of throwing it out there. So it just, whatever, you interpret it whatever way you want, but this is the quick searches that are available for you. Okay. I also want to talk to you about the search button up here. And the reason that this is important is because when I click on this, it gives me 3 possibilities. One of them is to search by class. Okay, and so I'm going to be either searching for, and we're going to do residential at least, right? We can search for residential. We can search for 2 to 4 units. So residential is usually what we refer to as a single family home. I'm sure it'll be politically incorrect someday, probably coming soon. Question, what is the scope of our MLS search in terms of geographical locations? I'm not sure if San Clemente or Orange County listing. Yes, this will actually search. So we have, and that's a really good question, Antuza. So we have what's called data share. At least at this moment, we have data share. We've had this for a very long time. MLSs pop up, they come, they go, stuff like that. We share our data through the principle of data share with other MLSs, pretty much everybody south of the 10, of the I-10. So I say pretty much. So obviously Temecula, Riverside, Murrieta, all that. We just sold a home up in Temecula that was listed up in Temecula by the agent, but we could see it down here. It wasn't a problem for us to pull it up. And we should probably look at that. You see right here where it says resources, everybody, and thanks for asking the question because I'd almost forgotten to show you this. So here's resources. When I click on resources, I can go over here to the right-hand side, MLS links, and I see the 5 other MLSs that we do data share with. Now I can go into them. So a lot of people are familiar with CRMLS. I mean, MLS listings is LA, things like Claw is LA, those kinds of things. And so there are a lot of MLSs in Beverly Hills. I think there's 13 of them. But I can search through all of them because we all share our data with each other. We all have different, subscriber menus and things like that. So let's click on CRMLS really quick. I want to pull that up. And the reason I want to show you that is because not just for the purposes of why is it better to use SDMLS, but also for purposes of what can I do and what I can't do. So when I go into CRMLS, and I'm not a subscriber to CRMLS, I clicked on the link. Did everybody follow me on that? Is everybody okay with how I did that? So from in here, I went over to resources, and then I went over here, resources, and then I went over here to CRMLS, and I clicked on that, and it gave me the CRMLS search. Okay, so this is it. I can do pretty much everything anybody else can do in CRMLS by going through that door, right? By going through that pathway. So I can do pretty much everything everybody else can do in there. The only 2 things I cannot do, I cannot save a search for a client, right? So again, why would I want to? Because I'm going to be saving it in Paragon. Actually, Paragon is Paragon is our MLS. They use Matrix versus Paragon. By the way, they're both built by the same company, both built by Black Knight. Okay, so it's 6 of this, a half dozen of the other thing. So in here, I cannot save a search. So I can go in here and search until the cows come home. And then when I try to save it, I won't be able to do it because I'm not a subscriber to this MLS. Okay. And by the way, the same holds true for them. So people that are subscribers to CRMLS can't save searches they can save searches from their program, but they can't go into Paragon in San Diego and save a search in there unless they are also a subscriber to those to the Paragon. So again, we don't have members of MLSs. We have what's referred to as subscribers to MLSs. Okay. So that being said, I'm in here now. I can go ahead and I can search for property. I tend to find that this one's much more confusing. For me, I'm comfortable with it, but for if you're just getting your handle on the MLSs, I'd probably say you can always go in here and look, but you probably better served by getting good at ours first. I don't want you to get too good, because if you do, then what ends up happening is you end up teaching like I do, and there's no money in that, right? And I want you to make money. I want you to make nice with people. I want you to make money in your career. Okay, so there's again, here's a Matrix, CRS Matrix versus Paragon, but back over here. Well, I'm sorry. Let me show you one other thing in here. So you see, they just have a different fascia. They have a different front to it. Okay, but I can still search for stuff. Now, for me, it's for some reason it doesn't always work really well, and I don't know why not. But if I go up here and I type in 811 America Way, it's going to say, we don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Remember my 811 America Way? So boom. And it comes back and oops, I lied to you. Look at that. There it is. This is the property when it's sold. I remember I sold it to him for $575,000. So this is here's the S means sold. So that's the only thing I'm going to get out of that, because it's not an active listing, although you're not finding the rental. So if you're looking for a rental in Del Mar, for example, you're not going to find it through this part of the Matrix program. Does that make sense? Okay, so interestingly enough, this is the same program here that we use on the East Coast. So a Bright MLS, which is probably the largest MLS up and down the coastline, this is how their MLS looks and how their stuff goes. So that's why, again, I teach both. Any idea on the cost to become a subscriber? So if you're going to be, so currently you're paying your association dues to be a member of the San Diego Association, and then you pay separately to be a member or a subscriber to SDMLS. And I don't, and so you would end up, if you wanted to join the CRMLS, then you would have to join the unassociation up there that they are buddies with, and then you would have to then pay the subscriber fees up there. I've done the analysis myself over the years, and I found that it is much less expensive to be a subscriber to San Diego and the San Diego MLS than it is to be a subscriber up there. The association dues are higher. The MLS dues are just a little bit lower, but again, the association dues are higher. And so I know I don't need to be a member of both or a subscriber to both because I have everything I need within STMLS, right? Okay. So, I mean, again, the only advantage for me joining this other MLS is to be able to save a listing and for obviously dissemination to the masses, which I can do in SDMLS, and then also to save a search for a buyer or whatnot. Remember that SDMLS has over 66% of the market share. So they have the majority of listings in San Diego, more so than any of the other MLSs are going to have. So as long as data share is in effect and you're a subscriber to CRMLS, then that's okay for you. But at some point, I believe that the data share may become not happening, at which time everybody's going to be flocking back to the couple that left. A lot of people left SDMLS and then came back right away because they realized there was no entries in their MLS for Melrose, which is a statutory disclosure, and room dimensions were missing as well. So anyway, that being said, I'm not going to go deep into this one because that's not our purpose today. So I will talk about this one here. I have a client who wants a condo. By the way, for those of you who are wondering, I'm reading on the screen, questions pop up, and so I'm reading the question, and so that you can know. I always say read the question so that at least when I answer it, everybody understands what the question was. I have a client who wants a condo as an investment property. We show how to set up a feed. Yeah, absolutely, we'll do that. Absolutely. I don't know what their criteria is, so I'll probably ask you as we go along. So okay, so I'm back in Paragon again. I'm gonna again close out Matrix, but again, if I wanted to go to those other MLSs, I can do it in here. Now, in all fairness, I have found, for example, I had a property that we were under contract with in Malibu, where the information in the San Diego MLS was pretty lacking, but the other MLS that services that area was more robust, and so I could see more in there. And so just one of those, but it was land too, and I haven't seen that happen with the housing. So okay, everybody with me? All right, so good question. Thank you for asking. And then I'm going to go ahead and take us back now to our search. I'm going to click on my search window. Sorry, I got to clean the other window. So again, I have my search by class of property. I've got my specialty searches and I have my saved searches. So we're going to talk about the search by class first. And when I do that, I'm going to go up here where it says MLS documents. And I'm going to click on MLS documents. And I'm going to go down here to San Diego Association of Realtors folder where it says MLS input forms. Can everybody see that okay? So here are my MLS input forms. Now I'm going to show you something that's pretty interesting. I'm going to click on search again, and notice here search by class pretty much mirrors the forms that you're looking at right there on the left-hand side. Okay, does everybody see what I'm saying? So I've got my residential, I've got my 2 to 4s, I've got my lots of land. You see what I'm following? On the left-hand side of your screen down here, it's got the forms for the search by class up here. And so I'm an old believer in the old have the form in front of you because it explains a lot of the abbreviations and things like that. And I think that can be a pretty valuable tool. Okay. So that being said, I just wanted to show you that. I mean, we're not going to spend any time on it. Take us out of that, take us back to here, and we're back to search again. So let's talk about my search by class. And so I've got residential. Now, residential means, a single dwelling. Okay. So like I said, when I started to say earlier about single family, I will probably make that against the law at some point here in California. Whatever. But again, I don't take sides, but all right. So I have my residentials. And so that would be where, one person owns one unit. And then I have my 2 to 4s. And my 2 to 4s, because remember, California Civil Code covers residential residential 1 to 4. So a single family home, a duplex, right? Duplex, same appearance physically as a twin home, except that in a duplex, there's only one assessor's parcel number, okay? Which means that one person owns both sides. That's a duplex. A triplex, one person or entity owns all three, either a natural person or a non-natural person. And then finally, a fourplex, which is one person, and again, one APN number, one owner owns all four of the structures, all usually contiguous or attached to each other. So that's my 2 to 4. And again, California Civil Code protects the 1 to 4 purchaser, could be an investor, but protects them because the Civil Code believes that that the 1 to 4s are naive, not educated. You know, I have found that not to be necessarily true, but who am I to argue with a legislative body? But you know, at the end of the day, that's what Civil Code does. Anything 5 or greater is going to be covered by Uniform Commercial Code, otherwise known as a UCC, which is really more of a common law. You know, this is what, you know, we do all over the United States. And in fact, I know I found my book, my law school book. I remember law school for me was over 30 years ago. Way over 30 years ago. Oh my God. And Linda's always bothering, you know, why do you keep all this stuff? Well, I just think it's interesting to see this book. This is the entire UCC code, right? So I'll find it for you one day and I'll show you. But Civil Code 1 to 4 is what you're probably going to be more associated with. Now, why is that relevant? So I had an agent call me on the phone and says, my client's sitting out in front of this property and they gave me the address and I tried to look it up and I cannot find it. And I said, okay, where were you looking? And they said, well, I was looking in you know, the residential where we always look, right? And it's like, well, what are you asking crazy questions for? And I go, well, okay, because I don't know. You're giving me an address or they're giving you an address. Are they looking at a residential, again, a single family structure? It could be a house, it could be a townhouse, it could be a condo, but you own that space, right? Okay. But it's possible that it could be 2 to 4 units, right? In which case, and it turns out that's what it was. I says, take a look at 2 to 4 units, guided her through that on the phone. Okay. The screen for me, by the way, is like indelibly imprinted in my mind. So, you know, again, you can call me. I don't matter where I am. I probably help you through it. So anyway, she looked it up under 2 to 4 units, and there it was. It was a duplex. They had the address of the one side, so it really wasn't what they were looking for. They were looking to purchase one of the sides, but in a duplex, a 2 to 4, you don't purchase one of the sides, you purchase both sides. Okay. And that's why I went through the explanation that I went through. And I think actually I did a pretty good job of that, I think. Okay. Then I have my lots and land. And remember, our MLS does not allow you to put things in more than one property type. So you're either a residential, or you are lots and land, or you are a rental. Okay. Or you could be one of these other things. I mean, lots and land, I think, is pretty obvious. You know, we had I remember I was a chair of the Santa Clara Advisory Committee many years ago. And I remember we had a request by a subscriber who said, we're trying to sell this place in Rancho Santa Fe, and, you know, we're not getting any offers. And so, you know, they said, we'd like to list it. It was currently listed as a house, but we'd also like to list it as a land. And so, you know, we looked at the listing and we said, well, why land? And they said, well, because, you know, it's really, the house is uninhabitable. I'll never forget this. The house is uninhabitable. And we looked at the listing. The listing said there was a tenant in it. And so we went, it's uninhabitable, but there's a tenant in it. And so they said, yeah, I know, but it's really a tear down. So we responded, take your pick, which I was surprised that we took that position, but they couldn't be in both. We're not going to do that. So that's why the reason I'm telling you this story is because for purposes of what you're looking at right here, it's either in one or the other. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how to bypass that in a second too. So by the way, they took it out of the house and put it into land, and it sold right away. It was the right price for a house. It was not the right, for land. It wasn't the right price for a house. Clearly, in the condition, it had to be bulldozed anyway, but there was somebody living in it. So, okay, I get it. And then I have my residential rentals, and then I have my fractional ownerships are going to be like my timeshares. And then I have my commercial, and a lot of commercial brokers are putting their listings into the multiple listing service. We just sold one up in Solomar, up in north of LA, that we did. It was a commercial transaction, and so we put it in the MLS, got all kinds of activity on it. But then I have my multi-class, and I like multi-class because where I may go to residential, I might click on residential, and here's what I get. okay, but it's only residential. And again, when I see my little magnifying glass, I've got my, attached, detached, modular, maybe I've got all those things. But what happens if my client's looking for units or they're calling me about units? Well, now I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to go down to multi-class. And so I'm going to click on multi-class and look at that now. I can go ahead in here, notice where the magnifying glass is. I can go in here and now I can specify I want it to be a residential, a 2 to 4. So now I've satisfied my multi-class, right? So this is what I promised you I would show you, was how to search in the multi-class environment rather than going through, each searching by residential, then switching over to 2 to 4, then switching over lots and land, whatever. And so I can actually literally do a search. Now notice the only thing missing here is that it doesn't say multi-class down there again, because then you'd be in kind of a loop, right? So I'm going to click on my save button, and now it says there are 2,600 listings that are both residential and 2 to 4s, okay, in San Diego County, and again, active back on the market. All right. And so I'm going to show you a little trick here. And again, slow me down if I'm going too fast, but you see right down here where it says active and back on the market, you can change that criteria. All right. I'm going to go ahead and hit the mat. Here's why. Contingent was not in there, and neither was coming soon. And so I leave it out on mine because I'm mostly doing, showing people how the functions work. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change my search to include contingent and coming soon. By the way, if you're not finding a lot of listings, I'd probably also look at pending. I've sold a lot of homes where it was under contract and the other agent said, God, we've been trying to get rid of this place. The tenant's got an offer in on it. They're never going to be able to buy this place. And they're not performing. And we've been under contract now for 6 months. And it's like, just write a backup offer. Well, I never would have known it because they're required to put it into pending, but they didn't want to take it out of pending and lose the buyer that they currently have. And so once they realized they had a better buyer, they got rid of the primary, the original buyer, and then we moved on. Does everybody understand? I'm trying to show you some little tricks of how to increase your production. Okay. So I'm gonna hit my save button and look at my numbers are going to go way up now, 5,200, right? So all we did was add contingent and coming soon. I'm sorry, and we added pending too, right? So remember, contingent means that a third party is involved in the decision to sell. So contingent usually means it's a short sale, so you have your buyer and your seller, but now you need the lender to approve, or you need a court to approve, things like that. So whenever a third party is involved in the decision to sell, well, I want those too, right? And so I'm going to click on contingent, because contingent. So when a listing goes pending in the MLS, the feed doesn't go out anymore. So people only see active and contingent. Contingent means that it's still going to show on the internet to the public facing websites as an active listing. So I don't want to lose that. And then my client calls me up and says, how come you didn't tell me about this property? And I go, okay, my bad. I forgot to check the box. Okay. All right. My clients don't usually yell at me. Hopefully they don't yell at you either, but question, can we use it looks like an iPhone for MLS search and research while on the road, or is it limited? I don't know, but that is also a great question. I'm so glad you asked these questions. That was a great question. Why don't, so first of all, and I don't do Mac. I mean, I learned on Macs back in the 80s and loved the program, but when Bill stole it and created Windows, it's just, I was okay with the Windows product. But anyway, when we create software for real estate, and I'm talking about the state level and the national level, we create for PC first. So, we used to call it IBM, but it's a PC based system. I'm not saying that's a bad thing with Macs. I mean, Macs are a great product, but literally we produce them for the PC first. And so, and we get, at the state and the national level, they get around to getting it to work on the Mac product as well. And I'm not into the rift between the Mac users and the PC users. It doesn't matter to me. Okay. But again, there may be a little slower adoption, or some things may not quite work as quickly in the beginning. Eventually they do get to it. And so again, if you're having an issue, you need to say something to somebody. I was talking to somebody the other day about some issues with zip forms, for example. And so when I'm when I send a problem to Lone Wolf, they're the owners of Zip Forms, the president of the company responds. All of a sudden, I'm getting all these, tech people are just scrambling around because, I'm asking questions. So if you need help with anything like that, let me know. I'm happy to help you. It's just I am on the Lone Wolf Advisory Committee, and so as a result, they seem to listen to me for some things. Some things move a little bit slower, and if they're not moving fast enough, I just kick it straight upstream to the top, and then all kinds of stuff happens. So to answer your question, iPhone, I'm not really sure how that works. It should work fine. When I create my class right now, in fact, I'm starting next week the real property law class at the university. Everything works. It's amazing to me. But with your MLSs, I don't know. I can't answer the question. So thank you though for the question. But back to my issue here. I'm in my multi-class. You can see it right up here, and I see I have almost 2,000 more properties by just making a couple of adjustments. Okay, so I'm going to kick out of this one because I just want to show you that as an example. I do want to look at residential because I do want to launch into this. Searching by residential is pretty cool. I have a number of different ways to do it. When I look across the top, I can click on this link and it's going to load a saved search. So if I had searches in there already that I really liked, ones that I changed and saved them as something different than my default search, then that's where that's going to happen. Okay, and then I can also pull up the last searches that I had done. Good luck figuring that part out. And then I have my fields and my containers. And so probably the easiest way to show you the difference is over here where the green button and the red button. So the red button closes all the containers. So these are the 3 containers in your MLS. Now, if I open one of them, now I see the fields. Okay, so when we're up here, when I see this fields and containers, I can click on containers and I can add new, hypothetically, I could add new containers. I can click on the add button and it says, what do you want that to look like? Right. So I can add new containers. Again, I don't think that's something that most of us are ever going to get into, but I can see when I close them that I've got 3 containers. I've got my residential by default primary criteria. I've got my additional criteria, and then I have my fees and assessments. So those are my three fields. Okay. Or 3 containers. All right. When I look at my fields and I click on that, now I get into the meat. Now I get into what do I want contained in each of these. And so here's my first one in my residential, obviously my primary criteria, which again, if you look over here on the left in the grayed out section, it says primary criteria. The second thing says additional criteria. There's additional criteria. And then finally fees and assessments. And so I can go back and forth on these things. I can move them all around. I would not get too crazy because you can spend your whole day trying to create the perfect machine that and never get off the ground. I want to make sure you're making money. That's kind of the whole thing. So whatever way that I do it, let's say I want to move over first right of refusal hours. I can click add and it moves it over there. I can add ADU access type 2. I can add that. If I want to take something out, I can click on it. I can click on remove. And so does everybody understand that? I think that's pretty simple. I hope. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to, if I apply it and save it, then I'm going to be changing my default criteria. And I definitely don't want to do that. I could apply it and save it as a new search, right? I could do that, or I could just apply it to this search. Okay, well, we don't need to do all that because you're used to seeing it the way that I'm going to show you here right now. I'm going to open up all the containers, the 3 containers, and now I have, the search criteria that you're used to seeing. Now I've got my save button as well, and we're going to talk about that after we enter some fields in here. Okay, all right. So what am I going to do? Let's do residential styles first. Now I can click on the magnifying glass. It'll pull up this, or I can just start typing. So I want detached. I hit the D button and look at all the things with D in them. I'm going to click on detached and just change my numbers of active or back on the market listings. I'm going to pick on my hometown of Del Mar. I start to type it in and it says, okay, that's Del Mar. Now I see I have 27 active listings in there. And so do I want to go deeper? Because remember, I'm going to set up a search, and kind of our purposes here could be multifold. So for example, one, I could be searching for something right now, and then I'm going to, and then I'm not going to save it. I'm going to go on and do other things. Or I can save it, do a search now, save it to a client, or I can save it, or I can do the search and save it as a collab center event. I really like collab center. Hopefully you've had a chance to watch my video on collaboration center. I love collaboration center. It's like, where have you been all my life? That kind of thing. The old sending things by email, they go into the spam folders, the people delete them, they set up rules. The collab center is forever. It creates another website for them that they can just go in. Not only that, but they can actually create their own search in the collab center. It's one of the reasons I really like collab center. When I'm sending them these email listings, you and I get into the bad practice of actually sending them listings and putting it on an automatic system and then forgetting completely about them. And so that's a problem, because then you get, next thing you know, 3 months later, you get this email that says your client has opted out of the search. And it's like, you did what? And so then you call them up on the phone. Finally, you should have been calling them every couple of days. You call them up on the phone and they go, "Oh, you'll be so happy for us. We bought a house." And you're sitting there going, "Well, where was I involved in that? That's the whole point." And they said, "Well, we've completely lost track of you." "Well, what about all those emails I was sending you?" "Well, we figured you weren't really paying attention to it. And we really needed somebody that could service our needs, or we walked into an open house." These are the kind of conversations you need to be having with your client so that you can retain your client. Okay. So those automatic emails don't retain clients for you. Hi, Karen. Primary criteria, but not the other criterias. How did you add the others? You don't see any of these? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close my 3 containers. So you can see primary criteria. Are you in the MLS? If you are, follow along, hit that red button, close the 3. Are you still only seeing 1? Yes, no. I always say these aren't necessarily intended as a lab, but I do love getting into it. You're only seeing the first one. Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, so somewhere along the way you deleted a couple of containers, or the containers were never established for you. So what you can do is, if you go over to fields and containers and click on containers, what happens when you click on the plus sign in front of it? So mine says new section. Only seeing the first. It sounds like somewhere along the line something got deleted. What I would recommend that you do is, if you're not able to see the others in there, is to go to get a hold of SDAR. Call the back line. Call 858-715-8040. And then they will switch you. That's membership. That's the back line to membership. They will switch you over to or they'll probably help you themselves. And that is reestablishing your other 2 criteria. So make a note of it. I'm only seeing primary criteria. I'm not seeing additional criteria or fees and assessments. Okay. So under my fees and assessments, I've got all this happy stuff. Under additional criteria, I've got all this stuff. Maybe these are things you don't use that frequently, but I don't know. I think it's important for you to have them. So maybe they just have to do a reset for you. Okay. Yeah. Don't call them right now, because I want you to stay here. Okay. But yeah, maybe we'll have more stuff to talk to them about. But thank you so much for asking the question. I really very much appreciate it. So, okay. So let me go back. I'm going to open up all my stuff again, including here. So we looked at detached, and what I'm doing is I'm establishing the criteria that I want to have, and then I can go 2 ways with this. Obviously one of them I can search, but the other way is to send it to a client via email, or send it to the Collab Center. And I'm going to show you how to do both of those. Okay, everybody good so far? All right. I'll wait for a second for questions. Okay, seeing none. All right. So I've got my county in there. I think 27 is probably plenty, but oh, look at this down here. I see active and back on the market. I'm going to hit my magnifying glass again. I could click on those, but what else can I do? I've already shown you. I can put my cursor in there. I can start typing contingent. It pops up. I hit my enter key. I can type in coming soon. I hit the CO, and and there's coming soon. And then I told you I kind of like the pending. I'm going to, as I start to type, it pops up the window. So it went from 27 to 38 properties. Okay. All right. Now my client says, well, I want to keep my price range. What's good price range? I want to stay under $10 million. Okay. So I can do county, by the way. I can also do market area, but let's say they want to stay under $10 million. So we're going to do 10. Now notice the zeros over here on the right-hand side. So if I do that, now I have 100, and now I have a million, and now I have 10 million. Okay, so I want it less than, so the high end, the maximum is less than 10 million. I just lost 6 properties. Okay, all right, now maybe we do some other stuff. Maybe 10 million's too much. Let's change it to 5 million. So I'm gonna click a 5 in here, and I'm gonna click that one there. And so now I've got how many zeros? I have 3 over here, and I get 3, and then 2 more there. And so what do I need? I need another 0. No, I don't need another 0. I need 2 less zeros. 5 million. There we go. Now I got 20 properties. Okay. All right, good. Okay. So that I just want to, for illustrative purposes. I can also do other things. I can search by listing date. I only want listings that have been in this year. So this year. So look at that. 17 listings this year. Okay, because I don't want to look at anything that's been out there for 7 months. No, I want this year only. So I can do that. That's that little drop down right there. Okay. I can also do an off market date, but I don't want to put, so less is better. I want you to remember that principle. Less is better. You put too much stuff in here and the program just goes, we don't know what you're doing. As an example, see how it says Del Mar? I have Del Mar in there. So I'm seeing 17 properties just based on 5 million price range. And again, we just pulled that out of the air. I have all these other criteria in here that I could do. Less is better. Okay. Here's my additional criteria, Karen, right? Parking spaces, if necessary, if you want to do that. Fees and assessments, if you want to do that. I added word in there, the word search, because I wanted to be able to look. Is this going to let me do this? There we go. So I wanted to be able to look for other words, like, for example, fixer. I'm not sure that it worked before, probably doesn't work now. Let's try it. Fixer. No. So it's not looking for that. Okay, it's not going to do it for me. All right, never mind. That was I've got other things in my way here. So here's my search button, my magnifying glass. Whoops, loud noise. Sorry about that. And again, that would take me back to the same place. So I don't want to spend too much time there. So anyway, let's get rid of that. So this is my search criteria. Now I want to show you one of my favorite things. And when we came out with this, I got to tell you, folks, I go back to the blue books, right? Where you would go through, they would have like 16, of these tiny listings on a page. We got it so good today, but we would have to pour through this thing. And I'll never forget, I had a client back in the late 70s, early 80s, and you have the MLS books, right? And so we would covet these books because at that time we thought we were the keeper of the inventory, and really that went away, right? Okay, we started selling them to third-party aggregators because the internet really opened up a lot of stuff. Well, so we would save these books. Then we'd have the dumpster divers. We would throw them in the dumpster in the back of the office, and because new one would come out every 2 weeks. Can you imagine waiting 2 weeks to find out about a new listing or if something sold? I mean, today you've got instant response. So anyway, so that's what we did. We had the MLS books, and you would go through and you try to read these. I have pretty good eyesight still to this day, even though I'm 95 years old, and I have great eyesight. And so I still go through them, and it's like, wow, that's really small, right? And that's what we did. And it was newspaper print. Right. And so you get done looking for properties or clients, you call agents. We didn't have cell phones back then. We'd try to get a hold of them at the office, try to get a hold of them at home. And then by the time we were done setting up the 6 appointments, I've always said never show more than 6 at a time. So got the 6 appointments going on, and your hands are just completely caked in newspaper print. And then you get it all done, you go get washed up, the client, you call the client and they don't answer the phone. And then the next day they don't answer the phone. The next day they don't answer the phone. Like, what in the heck? I just did all of that work, but today you're flying through this stuff. We're doing stuff right now that, without spending too much time going down memory lane, this is a great way to learn this and to do this stuff. But boy, you put out contracts to these people. They didn't show up. You were showing them property and they didn't show up. So it happens, right? I mean, it happens today. So anyway, so I've got my Del Mar, but I want to show you a neat trick, because today I can go up here and I can click on a map search. All right. And we're going to spend a couple of minutes on this. If I'm going to search by map, I'm going to tell you eliminate the zip code. Okay. I clicked on the little X. I got rid of the zip code. Okay. Why? Because they conflict. There are a lot of properties that are Del Mar. Let's go ahead. I'm going to click on the map. And look, and now the X marks the spot where my office really is, right next to Ruth Chris, right? So there it is. I'm going to scan out a little bit and notice my map is a hybrid map. Okay, I'm going to scroll out a little bit more because I'm looking in Del Mar. Now, if you know Del Mar, and I've got a pretty good handle on it, I've lived there for almost 40 years. So, the northern boundary is not Via de la Valle, right? Solana Beach is to the north of this, but literally, believe it or not, this area over in here, up by San Andres, this is San Andres right here, this road, this is Del Mar, right? It's Del Mar zip code, it's City of San Diego services, Solana Beach services, just depends on where you are, okay? So it can take many forms. Down here to the south, it's pretty easy to define. It's going to be Carmel Valley Road. Well, those are the Del Mars that that isn't really Del Mar. So Del Mar, that Del Mar that everybody knows is 92014. But you've got a client that says, I want to live in Old Del Mar. So the real Del Mar. So the 92014. So when I'm over here on the right of Crest Canyon, for example, this is Crest Canyon. All this area over here is Del Mar zip code, but it's City of San Diego services, which means San Diego police respond to things. Your post office is in Rancho Bernardo versus Del Mar, where I live. The post office is here in Del Mar on 15th Street. So, some things, why is that important? Because in City of San Diego services, the floor area ratio is 65%, which means you can build 65% footprint on a property. In the Del Mar area, the floor area ratio, called the FAR, is 25%. You can't put much more than a postage stamp in there, right? And so it's a very different building kind of thing. And people will tell you, I want to live here, or I want to live there. They'll be very specific about that. Okay, so let's go ahead. I want to back out just a little bit. I want to create a map. Your client says to you, I want to live north of Del Mar Heights Road. This is Del Mar Heights Road. Del Mar Heights Road becomes 4th Street right here. But I want to live west of Crest Canyon, and I want to live south of 15th Street. So I'm going to position my map in such a way that I can, let's see if I can scroll in, or is it going to be too much? Okay, here we go. Now we're good. So here's post office down here. So now I want to create my map. All right, and this is the fun part. This is the part I like. So here's my hybrid button. You'll notice I've clicked on hybrid. I could click on just aerial, and then I get aerial. I could click on just roads if you get confused by the other. So let's try that, because that's a little bit easier to understand. And let me see where I am here. Yes, see, here's 15th Street. So here's the post office down here. So this might be easier. All of this area to this side of the green is Del Mar. The green is Crest Canyon. Okay, so we're going to do Del Mar Heights Road. So what am I going to do? I want to hit my draw button. I'm going to hit my polygon. All right, again, slow me down now. Okay, I'm going to hit my polygon. I'm going to left click it one time. Notice the hand turns to a plus sign. All right, so I want to click the plus sign somewhere on the map, because I'm literally going to try to create as much of a square as I can. So I'm going to start down here. They want to live down in this area. So I'm going to click on the button, the map, left click it one time. I'm going to go up here to this point, which is, now I'm going to go up. Obviously, there's no houses inside of Crest Canyon, and they don't want to live down on Arabia. They want to live up here in this area. And so then I'm going to follow it back down to the water again. And then I've got to come back down, and I've got to complete the circle, so to speak, right? Everybody good with that? Okay, so that's how I draw my map. Okay. And so when I look at my map, I see I've got a $4 million house over here. I got a $4 million house over here. I got a $4.6 million house over here. And then I've got two of them over here that are in kind of the old Del Mar twisty windy road part of a very nice area. And if I click on that, button, it gives me the two. So here's Orchid Lane, number 1 of 2. I've got 678 Orchid Lane. I've got all the data on it. And then number 2, I see that one is 722 Amphitheater. You know, it's always funny to look at these things, houses of which I have sold at some point in time. So anyway, so that gives me the 2 that you see right there. Okay. Now, obviously, if I back out of this a little, oops, I'm wrong way. If I back out of this, then the 2 goes away, and now it shows me the 2 properties. Okay. So since I know I only had 5 in this little cluster, that's what this is going to look like. Okay. So question, Shirley. Hi, Shirley. Can you draw multiple shapes? Yes, Shirley. Yeah. You get an A. You're probably sitting in the front row. I always know my A students are always sitting in the front row, right? And be careful I don't give you a homework assignment. I got to just kind of, you know, I taught in 3 colleges for 15, 20 years, and so I can't help myself. But yes, so I drew that map. Let me close the question thing down a little bit. I'm going to back it out just a little bit. What happens? My client says, well, wait a minute. I also want to search just in this little beach colony area. So now I do a second map, and I do a polygon, and I go over here and I click on right off of Powerhouse Park, and I go up to here and I go up to there, and they want to live, you know, in the beach colony area. And so now I have a second map. Okay, and there's no properties in there under $10 million, which I didn't expect there would be, or 5 million, I think we did, right? So, you know, do I want to change the criteria? If I click on it, you know, you've got some other things that are going on in here. 2016 oceanfront. When is an oceanfront property not an oceanfront property? Well, when it's an even number in on the street. So that's not true. It's the other way around. So yeah, good. It is oceanfront. So anyway, so I've got that now. You know, but let's take a look. Let's go a little bit deeper. Okay, so I can edit. If I click on this, I have the ability to delete one or both of the searches. I can also edit the search, and so, or hide the search. I'm sorry, hide it. Okay, I can do that. A couple of things that I can do in there. So let's go back. I want to take a look at my layers. So my layers are kind of cool because with my layers, I'm looking at parcel lines. I've got to start zooming in to get that. I could look by postal codes. I can turn that on, bingo. And then I see the break, and you see how the map changed on me a little bit here. See, they've broken it down into postal codes. Okay, so here's my 92014 I was telling you about earlier. And then remember what we said, it kind of does a little jog over here. Look at all this is 92014. See that? So, but people, so you got to ask the people, you know, are you saying 92014? Do you want to live west of the I-5? Because I still have properties that are east of the I-5 and 92014. Okay. So what else is good? Floodplain is good, right? So I can click on, you know, I scroll in quite a bit to get the floodplain data. So we do that. It's not going to cooperate. So we'll just take that out. Let's see, what else? Traffic patterns, you know, things like that. So, you know, I wouldn't count on this as much as I would probably count on some of the software. Let me get rid of the postal codes here, so it's not too complicated. But you can see it's telling you in real time what some of the traffic issues are going to be, right? And then I can look by high schools. I can look at all that stuff. Okay, so I'm going to leave parcel lines in place. I also have my, oops, let's close that. I also have my print capability. Send your map to the printer. That's pretty useful if you're searching for properties to go like out showing properties. I'm going to show you how to create driving links and stuff like that, or you could do that for caravans, you know, things. And then I've got all these other things. So this is my points of interest if you're interested in that. And this is going to be different groups of markers or shades, you know, whatever, kind of like a legend. Then I've got similar kind of thing. I've got my search boundary issues because of the colluded shape. PR again is going to be a public record search in that area. So if I click on that, so I've got to zoom in farther in order to be able to get any public record search. So boom, there we go. And then it's supposedly going to pull all this up for me, right? So I hit my search button. I don't usually show this part because most people aren't really interested in it. There's 977 pins. Look at all that. So every parcel, okay? So that's why I probably don't want to do that necessarily. So I'm going to clear the 977. I'm going to X out of this. I can center the map. I can type in an address and it'll pull up, all the way around that area. Let me get back out of this a little bit. Okay. And then how many miles is my search radius? Now that's going to be it's going to create a circle, which I could have done that back up here with draw. I could have gone to a radius search. That I'm probably not going to do that. But then I go ahead and click my search button. And what does it do? So I have those 2 parameters in there, and now it's going to pull up all the properties that fell within those. And so I've got 5 that fell within that first grid. And look at this. You don't think that there's a lot of money out there. I'm always surprised. I've got 2 active listings in the one grid, and I've got 3 of them that are pending. Okay. So, and here's my information. Now, the next question is, I want to send these to the client. Okay, so I've got a couple of different ways I can do that. First of all, if I want to look at these properties, I'm going to click on all of them. Over here where it says reports, it currently has my grid view, but I want details. And so I click on details, and there's my agent preferred. I want my agent 1 page, or where's my preferred? Here's my agent preferred. That's the one I like. And that gives me pretty much all of the information. Okay. Whoops, question. Did I, yes. Okay. So, so here's the first one. And again, let me close that window. This is the first one here. Notice the checkbox here. Days on the market, 103. What's wrong with that place? I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just Del Mar's kind of a funny place. If we can't sell our property for twice what we paid for it last year, we just won't sell it. That's why there's no inventory in Del Mar. So I can go to the next one just by clicking the radio button over here on the right. And now I see the second one on Amphitheater. And then I get to the third one. And this is what this one's pending now. And so this is going to be 931 Stratford Court, right down the street from me. So anyway, so that's how I can look at all those things. I can go all the way to the end, which is the last one. And I think Dan Conway's got that one. That's the one at 717 Stratford Court. So, that's how I got the search put together. But now what do I want to do? Now what I want to do is I want to go back to my reports, and I want to just look at my my grid, right? So where did it go? I lost it already. Property system grid. And so I've got all these. So do I want to send all these to the client, or do I want to send all of them except for Amphitheater? I'm just pulling that out of my hat. So I've got a number of things I can do with this. And this is what makes this so much fun, is I can go over here. I can click this button right here, which is the email button. Oh, very boring. Oh, email, very boring. I can send that to him, the 4 of them, not the 5. I can send it as a collab link. Yes. I can send it as a hyperlink. Also, yes. PDF attachment, kind of old school, insert it into the body of a message. Okay. But I'm only going to send the 4. So if I click on collab link, then it pops up a message. Let's do that. I'm going to click on collab compose email, and it's going to say down here, click to view the listings, which is kind of neat because it's creating a collab link, which is a new website for them to look at. You type in their information. Remember, I got rid of the BCC me field and all of that. And see, now this is where my signature line was so important, right? Remember that? Okay. So I can send it, I can minimize, I can do a lot of things. I don't have to go crazy up here. I can select a different signature. I've got different signatures in there that were saved. I don't want it BCCing me. Okay. So everybody good with that? So that would be the way that I would email it to people if it was a one-time shot. Okay. I can also click on the collab link share, in which case I click on that and it gives me a link that I can copy and send it out of my own email program. So some of us prefer to send things out of our own email because we don't know how to find anything that we sent out of this program. I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute. Okay, so that I copy the link, I go over to my, whatever you're using, Outlook or Gmail or whatever, and then send it out of that. There's your signature lines on it, all that other kind of stuff. Very nice, very happy. Okay. The other thing I can do in here is I can text it to the client. Now this program is going to say, you don't have a mobile phone number. Remember we talked about that? I have several mobile phones. Actually, I have one for each coast. Yes, I don't need to be giving numbers out to people. I want you to get through to me. And so that's why I give everybody the 509-7500 number. Okay. So I can configure it. If I click on this, it'll say, put in your cell phone number, and I'm going to say no. So anyway, so that's what the other thing I could have done in there. I can also save it, and I can save it in a number of different ways. Okay. And so first of all, I can save the search. And if I do that, it says, what do you want to call it? And right now it says residential. Then it's going to come back in a minute. It's going to say, wait a minute, you already have one called residential. If I check this box, set as my default residential, and now this will be my default search. And I don't want to do that, right? I want to associate it maybe with a contact. Okay, so I click on contact, and this is where I'm going to set it up. I want to set up a recurring search for the client. Okay, so we're going to call it residential, but I can either assign it to a contract by typing in the client's name. Let's see if I'm even in there anymore. I have, nope, look at that, I'm not in there anymore. So we're going to create myself. I have a whole bunch of people. Here's the list of all the people I have in there, but let's create a new contact. Okay, again, slow me down, folks. If I'm going too fast, I want to make sure this is clear. There's not much for you to do in here. I'm going to type in first name. I'm going to type in last name, and then I'm going to type in email address. So what's my email? Kevin M. Burke. Oops. I shouldn't tell you that because that's my private email address. I never check it. So let's do Burke. Oops. Burke Real Estate Consultants, which I'm in all the time. Not in there right this moment. Okay, so I type that in there, and then I click on the save button, and it says, wow, you just added a new contact. Okay, so now this search is going to be assigned to Kevin Burke. Okay, I'm going to hit save and notify. It's going to now oh, there's system conflict, of course, which is okay because I didn't really want to save it. But if I hit save and notify, then not only does it save it to me, but it also sends me an email saying, here's your new search. Okay, so that's a cool thing. I could just hit save and come back to it later, but I'm going to hit cancel and get out of it completely because that was my save search. And now I might want to instead call it a save search as, in which case I'm going to essentially get, I can do a lot of different things, but again, back to that contact information. Okay. So what would happen if I wanted to save this and save it as a collab center link? I can save it to a listing card, right? I can go ahead, the 4 listings, I can select a cart that I already have if I had one, right? Here's my listing card. So I have a listing card for Julius LaRosa. If you're a little bit older, you'll find a lot of humor in that. Julius LaRosa was a musician who appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show. Said a whole bunch. Ed Sullivan would also probably be foreign to most of you. I always tell everybody it's not that I know more than everybody else. I just outlived everybody else. But anyway, but I also have the KB listing card, so I can save it to those cards to people that I've already saved. Obviously, my own name, I've saved that as well. So which ones we're going to add? We're going to save those to those. Whoops! Oh, should have done that. Okay, so who am I going to save them to? And again, we're going to save them to, where's Kevin? Here's Kevin right here. Save. I'm going to hit save. I'm not going to hit notify because then I got to go delete emails. So there, that's how it is. So I just saved it to the listing card. Okay. All right. Now, so people ask me all the time, so from there, how do I go to find the listing card? And so I'm going to go up here where it says contacts. And remember what I said earlier? I wanted to show you a couple of things in here. One of them is, remember what I showed you, what I said about finding your sent messages? Here it is. It's under contacts. Why, I don't know, but it is. So if I go down in here and I click on sent messages, it pops up all the messages I've sent over the last 2,585 days. Okay, so in this case, I'm sending out collab center emails, all kinds of stuff like that. Okay, so here's my collab center. All right, so okay, so we looked at that. I'm going to go back over here for a second. I'm going to click on the contacts. Here's my saved messages, sent messages, and then I'm going to click on view a contact. I might click on add a contact, but I just saw that I can add a contact while I'm creating the search. So if I've already got a contact, and then Karen, your question was a good one. Can you save multiple searches? Sure, you can. So create a second search that says, North Del Mar, that kind of thing. That's one of the things that we just did. So I'm going to go ahead and view manage contacts, and then it gives you a list of all my contacts. Okay. So that being said, now you see the list. Now, frankly, most of these, I don't think they're just the ones that I made up over time. But here's my, that one, I haven't contacted her in 100 years, but here's my Anna, here's my name right here. I click on my name because I want to look and see how that search is in there. And it shows me the activity. There were 4 total listings. Remember the 4 we just sent? Okay, 4 total listings that are in there. I looked at my contact information. Sure enough, I've got active, I've got new only, I've got my name, I've got my email address. I could add the spouse or secondary email, secondary person. I do that frequently. The rest of the stuff, I wouldn't fill it out. I think you're wasting your time. You really are. I mean, I don't know how much time you've got, but it doesn't go anywhere. The only thing that does go anywhere is right here where it says use reverse prospecting. And if I click on that, I now give myself a name. Well, here I did Julius. So I give my my alias a name, and what that means is a seller's agent, if they, assuming they know how to do this, they go into the MLS, they input a listing, and then they look at reverse prospecting. Okay, remember how we could go up here to contacts and look at reverse prospecting. So they look at reverse prospecting to see all of the buyers that are out there for the listing that they just took. So that's kind of the purpose behind that. And I think that's a great little program. But unfortunately, most people don't know to check that box, so it wouldn't show up. So you just got to know that. Then under buyer activity, I'm not going to save that, but under buyer activity, seller activity, if there is any, I probably should have saved one of those because once you save it, let me see here, save, and then it says, do you want to associate a property to it? So now I'm going to click on associate property, and then I've got 2 listings in there to associate. Those are listings of people that have shared their listings with me in our office again, okay, in our office. And I've got, let's save Elevado. I hit the save button, and now look what it does. It's now creating my collab center. I really like collab center. Okay. Again, I did a 2-hour video on how to set up collab center. I just did it last week. So it's all available on my YouTube website. But now I see, this is a seller listing. I just associated this. I've got enabled a sell side site so that the seller can see the listing. I can enable the email report. And so, that's disabled. So I'm going to enable it. I send out the welcome email. So again, the short album version of all this. When I go back up to my contact information, it's not letting me look at the collab center right now. I have this saying that if you're working on something and it's any program and it's not working, it's probably not you, it's probably the program. I find very frequently that I'm in these programs and I know them better probably than a lot of people, and it's like, that's just not working. I don't know why not. And so unfortunately, if you're newer, you won't recognize that it's not you, it's the machine. So I'm just going to tell you, just assume that it's the machine. Don't take it to heart. By the way, I can also deactivate Kevin, right? I can inactivate the button. That would make it so that, they don't want to get the listing. They want to take a break for a week or something like that. But again, I'm a really strong believer in you need to be maintaining contact with your client. If you plan to set up a program and then walk away from it, and I hear it all the time, set it and forget it. I think that's a recipe for failure. I really do. We forget to contact the client, and you really need to contact the client. Okay. I can, from in here, now everybody saw how I got here, right? I went to contacts, I went to view manage, and then I essentially went to Kevin. But what happens if I want to create a new contact? I can actually create a search from within here as well. So let's this tab already exists. Okay, let's just use this one. I can create a new search. All right. So there aren't any properties under recommended. Don't save. I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to click on my add a search. And now what does it do? Add a new save search or load an existing save search. So let's add a new save search. What do you want to search for? I want to search for residential. Is everybody with me? Okay, I know I'm going pretty quick. I'm just looking at my clock. When I first started doing this, I got so excited. I kept going over by half an hour, and it's like, I'm not going to do that to you today. We will be done on time, if not a couple minutes early. So here's my new save search, right? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to create a new search. So what are we going to do? We're going to do detached. I click the D button. It gives me that. Here I am going to type in Del Mar. I wanted to show you the mapping feature earlier. That's why we did what we did. But I'm going to click on Del Mar. And my numbers are back down to 27, right? I'm going to add contingent. So if I hit my C button, I get contingent. If I hit my C button again, I get my coming soon, and I got 28 properties now. And so again, I want to save these as a new search for the client. And again, I could just go ahead and click on save the search, and it's going to say, do you want to save the search for Kevin Burke? Because remember, I was in Kevin Burke, and it said, go ahead and create a new search. So I'm going to, oh yeah, go save it. So I'm going to click on the save button. It's going to pop it up. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for, now it gives me the save search in here for Kevin Burke, and it says Collab Center. Now I could make it just an email. I could turn it off. I like Collab Center. What are my options? I click on my options in Collab Center. Again, I've got it limited to 3 months. I think anything beyond that, woe is me. I didn't maintain client contact or client control. Select a message body to include in your Collab Center. You click on the message body. You can type in a message in here. If nothing appears in there, put your cursor in there and then just start typing away. Okay, I'm gonna hit cancel on that. And then down here immediately send it to them right away. And who's the recipient? Kevin. And then activity notification for your site. Okay, I'm gonna click my OK button. But the one thing that most people miss, you have to click send welcome message. If you don't send the welcome message, it won't make all these features available for you. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to click the send, to Kevin, right? I hope you're having a great day. Here's all of my DRE compliant information. I can hit my preview button, and preview is going to pop up. This is what Kevin's going to see when he gets his email. All right. And I should have probably done this in my Gmail account, because then I could show you faster. But here it is. There's what it's going to look like. Visit your site. You click on Kevin will click on the link. Kind of weird to be talking about yourself in the third person, but okay. 28 matches are found. I could click on view the listings. Where do they come from? What's undecided mean? What's recommended mean? The agent may recommend the listings. What are categories? These are the 3 categories you're going to get. Communicate with comments when the client sees something they like or don't like. I always tell them, I say, write down what you think, because I can see what you're writing down there. And then they can compare listings, create custom folders, things like that. Okay, so they can do all these things. All right. So one of the things that I don't always tell them about is that, let's click on view, visit your site. And I haven't set up a password yet, so that was kind of a waste of time. But one of the things that I usually tell them is that when you go ahead and you use the Collab Center, I can see that you've created a new search. So your client can create their own search, which I think is probably the biggest leap of faith we've done in a long time. And you need to know how important that is for you. And that is, if your client's creating their own search and you're monitoring your client's behavior, okay, you're not spying on them, but you go into their Collab Center, see right here, view Collab Center. I can view the Collab Center, and it pops up the Collab Center. So now I can see what the client sees, right? And if they favorite something or they reject something or whatever, they can also write notes. So you see, this is under buyer activity. So, they can save things in their folder. So like, let's say they favorite something. I'm going to go down here. See, here's my favorite button. Here's my possible. Here's my rejected. Here's, custom folder it. And here's my compare listings, one to another. But if I hit the favorite button, it'll change up here. See how it's favorite, 27 undecided, but I got 1 favorite. So now I see that they did that. right? Or they can type in a comment, that, I don't like the red tile roof, something like that. Well, those are things that are going to make it easier for me because my best closer in real estate was always having the monitor in front of the client, and I'm going through with them sitting next to me. Sorry, I'm one of those hands-on kind of thing, and they're sitting next to me, and I go, you know what? I'm so excited. We're going to go look at property today. I have 27,000 listings to show you. And they look at me like I've got two heads, right? And I said, well, you wanted to go look at the MLS, right? And they go, well, yeah, but I don't look at 27,000 properties. I go, okay, good. Let's narrow it down a little bit. So when I'm in my MLS, so when I'm in here, let's go back over to my search, my residential search. When I'm over here, this is what I show them. I say, you know what? Here's the criteria that we were looking at. Okay, you told me you wanted a detached home. You told me you wanted it to be, what's the map? Here's what the maps look like. Blah, blah, blah. I'm trouble speaking here. So these are what these are the areas that you wanted to look in. And so, that you wanted it to be under $5 million. It's going to be a stretch in Del Mar, right? $5 million is a nice car, right? So, so I got that going on. So, and then here's what the result was. My property system grid said this. Okay, so these are the properties. So, oh, you want to take a look at them. And so then we're going to go ahead over here, and remember, we're going to click on reports, and we're going to go down here to agent preferred. Well, actually, if I'm sitting with a client, I'm not going to look at agent preferred, right? I'm going to show them the client handout. So let's do that. I'm going to go back up here, client, not ADU client preferred. Here's my client preferred number one. So this is what I have saved in my settings for my client preferred look. So here's the first property. Now, what did that do? Well, what that did was it redacted the seller's agent's information. Okay, it took out the seller's information, the listing agent's information, took out the confidential remarks field. It took out the things that we don't want the public to see. Okay, confidential remarks, for example, I don't want them to see that. It may have an alarm code in there or something like that. I'm not hiding anything from them, but when you send an email out of this program, or when you create the collab center, it only gives them what they're entitled to receive. And that's, like I said, that was the big leap of faith, was that we could create a system where the client could create their own search, and then we can monitor what that search looks like. Okay, so this is when I'm sitting next to them in the office. But let's go back real quick and take a look at my collab center. This is their collab. This is what they're looking at. Okay, and scrolling back up, notice down here, property search. Does everybody see this? I think this is the best thing that ever happened, right? Because I want them to be able to create their own search. But when they do, I'm going to be able to go in and look to see what they did. And so I'm going to say to them, I said, well, you changed your parameters. You were looking up to 5 million. Now you're looking up to $6 million. Well, we told you 5 million because, we didn't want you going crazy and selling us something for more money. I was like, is that crazy, right? So it's like, okay, well, I want to get you what you want. So are you willing to go to 6 million? So my search in Paragon is going to be just a little bit more robust. Okay, so look at all these hits, because we haven't done anything in here yet. So let's address, location, hit the drop down arrow, enter address. I want, look at this, radius around an address. So we'll do my 811 America Way, and it's gonna give me all these drop downs. There it is, 811 America Way, Del Mar. And so I could look for only a mile. Let's hit submit and see what it does for me. And so see, this is going through 75,000 listings. So who was it earlier? Was it Antusa? So I don't need to go to CRMLS because it's all right here. So now just 811 America Way, just within a mile, there are 5,000. They're going to display 5,000 properties within a mile. Well, obviously, I haven't got enough criteria in there. What's my price? Well, I'm going to do that high again of 5 million. There it is. So I save that, hit submit. So watch my 5,000 of 6,100. You see what I'm saying? They can actually do this, and then you go in. I'm actually looking at it from the back door here. So price range, we got that fixed. They want 2 bedrooms, two bedrooms plus. I click submit there. That's going to limit the criteria even more. They want 2 bathrooms. I click on that criteria. I click on submit. Notice how my parameters are getting smaller, right? Things are getting smaller. By the way, 811 America Way is right here on the tip of that, no, down here, right above Flower Hill Mall. I think it's still Whole Foods, right? So as I'm going through here, I want only residential. That's fine. And then status, I want, oh, look at that. There's the problem. Look at all of these. All of the statuses are checked. So I'm going to get rid of rented. I'm going to get rid of off market. I'm going to get rid of all the expireds. I'm going to get rid of all the solds. And then so I've got my 4 basics and I've got my pendings that I like. And let me move this out of the way. Then down here, I'm going to click my submit button and let's see what kind of, wow, look at that. Now I'm down to 55 properties. And so it's showing me 55 out of 55. Again, pendings and all my actives. My property type are detached homes. I can also have other criteria. I could just go ahead and put those in here. And then the program will pull those up as well. Okay, so let's see what else to show you in here. But the point, and I can hit, they would hit save and save their own search. But again, I can go in and I can look to see what they're searching for. And then it gives me an opportunity to engage them in conversation again and come up with, what is it exactly, what's going on there? Why have you changed? So that's where they're the buyer side of things. They could also be the seller side. In our case, I created the collab center with both buyer and seller side. So it actually pulled that up as well. So there's the listing we were associating with them. Again, remember that they're a seller and they're selling 1738 Elevado Road, but they're also a buyer. So there's going to be, obviously, since they only have the one house to sell, that'll show up under the seller side. If they want to look at their competition, they click the competition button and it pulls up all the other properties that are competing with them in that marketplace. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Buyer activity. Anything else I want to show you in there? No. Okay. Questions about any of that? Seeing none, taking you back to Paragon. Really, this is kind of nice when they all open up the same browser, because sometimes when they switch screens, it doesn't show up on the screen you're looking at. So I'm back to my search over here. We already looked at sent messages. You don't care about that anymore. But this was my collab center that we created just while we were creating it. It said, we want to create it as a collab center. There you go. Again, 2 hours on that last week. So I just wanted to introduce it to you fairly quickly. Any questions on any of that? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close the collab center. I'm going to close my residential search. I'm back to my main screen. There was something here I wanted to show you. So I talked to you earlier about the market monitor. Look at that, 12 days, 12 new listings. Now, this is some of the things you want to be watching out for. So there's 12 new listings, 3 expired. I'm going to be willing to bet at least one of those is a new listing now with a different broker. Okay. Well, actually expired, you can list it again right away, but not canceled or withdrawn. Price changes, hot list 56, right? So you hover over it, total number of listings that appear on the hot list, tells you what it is. Over here I've got 3 days, but what if I want to change that to 2 days? I can click the 2 button, I can click the refresh button, and then hopefully it'll cooperate with me. Here we go. And it will pull up now 2 days back. So 10 new listings in the last 2 days versus 12. So those numbers aren't bad. I mean, if you think about it for a second, my sold, there are 15. So more properties have sold than there are new listings. That's not good, right? Because we want there to be more new listings than sold listings, assuming we want a competitive market. Okay. So price changes, there's 9 of them, all that kind of stuff. Pending 10 listings. So I have 10 new listings and I have 10 listings that are under contract, probably not the same 10 listings. So that means I'm in parity. That means my market times are pretty low. Okay. And so again, our market times, I had a broker complain to me the other day because their market time in their area went up to 17 days. And I said, well, what was it before that? They said it was 13 days. I said, you like that? They said, well, yeah, I love it when I'm the seller's agent. But of course, when you're the buyer's agent, you don't like these really short market times. And the average market time, according to NAR, is 96 days. We are nowhere near that. And people are telling me, oh, the market's in the tank in Del Mar or tank in San Diego. I assure you, we are a microeconomy. We are not having the issues they are having in other parts of the country. And frankly, they're not really having any issues. There's always a place that's going to have a problem, right? But that's not going to be the poster child for the bad market. So look at this, 12 properties on tour, 18 properties in an open house that are an open house. And I said this earlier, you should be putting your open houses into the MLS because people look at those. And especially if they're going to do a caravan. One of the things I did want to show you that I forgot, let me pull up, I wanted to show you the linking for doing the, let's see here, view manage, let's pull me up again real quick. Here we go, there's me. And so I wanted to look at properties. Where's my search? Here's my save search. So I want to edit my search. So I'm going to click on edit search, takes me back to this edit search window. So now what I want to do, I wanted to show you how to create your driving tour. So I'm going to click on, question. Differences between Paragon, New Paragon, and Connect MLS. What is your best recommendation to use? I like Paragon. I just, the old way of doing things has always worked really well for me. There are some things that are, everything is available in the Paragon I'm showing you, but in the other Paragons and Connect MLS, there's some things that aren't there. That worries me. I mean, they make it's prettier, it's got all that. I get that. But there's some stuff that's not in that's only in this. That's one of the reasons. And thank you, Antus. That's a good question. That's one of the reasons that I like this better, and that's why I teach it. The other ones, like Connect MLS, is taught by the people that brought us Connect MLS, and so I'm a broker practitioner. I'm, like you, I practice real estate, and I usually end up having to clean up, when other people are trying to do. I remember when I was teaching. The relay program, which was transaction management at the national level. I helped them build that program back in the day. And I remember that they would have tech people go out, whole great big brokerages, I won't even mention the names, who had adopted the program, couldn't figure out how to get it to work. The tech person came out, made it worse. And then they would call me to come out and show everybody how it worked. And because I do this every day. So yeah, so long answer to short question. Thank you, Antusa. Thank you. Good question. Okay, so here's the properties again. Whoops, where's my criteria? Where's my count? Click on count, and it'll say there's 28. I click on search, and out of the 28, I could save the search. I could add it to my cart, right? I can do that. Let's create. I'm just going to click on. Whoops. Now what? I knew you were going to do that. There we go. Back to my grid. I'm just going to click on 4 of them because I want to show you a really neat trick that I really never show anybody. Why do you keep doing that? Okay, so I don't want to look at this. So here, I'm going to just use this. So here where it says more actions, I'm going to scroll down to driving directions, and look what it's going to do. It's going to say from where do you want to start? Now I'm starting to speak in the old English, right? So select a starting position, the agent's office, the agent's home, choose a contact if you have one in there. So in our case, we're going to start at the office, find the directions by address, and then here's my 3 that I had highlighted. I can rearrange the order. I can drag and drop. Whoops, that didn't work. Hang on a second. I can drag them and I can do it in Google Maps. Okay, so get directions. What does it do? I just think this is the coolest thing ever, right? I mean, it's like nobody tells you this, right? It's like we create all these really great programs, and then we just kind of move on to the next problem and forget to tell you about it. So here I am. I mean, it's, here's my office down here, Suite 100. And so it says the first listing we're going to look at is on Caminita Puerto Delgada, which is over here. So it's going to have us go this way, and then we're going to come back over and go to these, right? And as I hover over them, of course, I get a view. There's a pretty nice view of actually to the south of where I actually physically live. Whole Foods, all that. We have all these things. So anyway, but what happens if I want to go to, I want to take them through Del Mar first and take them to Puerto Delgado last? I just grab the little link here and I just drag that down to the bottom. And look at that, it redoes the entire map. Okay, so I just think that's the coolest thing. So those are the driving directions, and again, I can do all kinds. We can walk it, we can do whatever, and then I can send it to my phone. So now I've got my driving directions on all the houses I'm going to show them on my phone. Are you okay with that? I just think that's the coolest thing. You put your phone up in the hands-free device and hit go, right? And then it we're getting to the point where the car will drive itself. But for right now, I wanted to show you that because I just think that's really cool stuff. Okay. Questions about any of that? Anybody? No? I think we're pretty good. So I'm going to take us back to my share. And what we just did was just logged into the multiple listing service, looking at my clock. I'm sensitive to, hunger pangs, so I want to make sure you're okay. And there you have it. That's everything. And I want to thank you, but I want to show you something else. If you want to visit any of our previous webinars, if you want to view any of them, I need to change that to view. Please visit our new YouTube website. Get your QR code ready. So you all have a cell phone, right? Y'all probably all have a QR code reader on there. All right. So here's the QR code. Created it myself, very proud. I didn't know how to do this 3 weeks ago, right? But I just finally said, you know what? I'm not going to be a slave to this anymore. I'm just going to go ahead and make it work. And so that will take you to the YouTube website where I'm uploading all of my videos. All right. So that's the QR codes. Everybody have that? Anybody want me to pause? No, seeing none. Let me see here. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. If you don't like QR codes, then there's the bit.ly link. So case is important here, right? So all lowercase bit.ly/real-estate-ed. Okay. And part of one of the reasons we created that was because I just got approved by the Department of Real Estate to be a school, as well as to teach the RPA. So that's why we created the link that we created, and that will also take you to the bit.ly, to the that's the shortcut, right? You don't want all the gibberish that comes on the YouTube website. Okay, so please remember that when you do that, like and subscribe. I very much appreciate it. I'm building some traffic in there, but again, I'm trying to give you lots of resources available for you to use. And I'm really kind of surprised at how it's only been up there for a couple of days, and yet I've got a lot of traffic. So please like and subscribe. You help me out. I don't know. Somebody said they pay you after you get to 1,000 people. I'm far enough away from that. I'm not going to be thinking about it. So, and I'm not doing this to make the money anyway. If you have any other things that you want us to talk about, education at SDAR, the really wonderful people there. Education there is a department. It's not a committee. There's a committee too, but it is a department. They actually have funding. They actually do things, and they want to support what you're doing every day. So weekly email. If you're not getting my emails, you really should be. You got to send a request. I won't put you in there unless you ask to be in there. But send me a request. I'll put you in the email, and you'll get those every week. They contain the direct links to the classes, so you don't have to go to the to SDR's website where it says they're sold out. I want you in the class. So again. Send me an email, or if I've sent you an email in the past, there's a link right there to subscribe, but there's also a link right there to all of my videos. So as we are growing, I've been doing this for years, and I only just found out how to start saving these things. So there's a lot to do. But anyway, they'll be current. And again, I've got another one coming up here at 2 o'clock. I'll be doing, what am I doing again? Searching open house safety. That's right. So I'll be doing that one. I'm kind of excited about that one too. But anyway, so I want to thank you all for being here today. If there's anything I can do to help you, I hope you will please let me know. For those of you that asked for, off camera, send me an email. Don't put it in here because I won't. What are the requirements to becoming a broker? Well, in California, and I teach the broker upgrade in California, and I teach it in Virginia, salesperson and broker. You have to have your real estate license for 2 years, unless you have a degree, a 4-year degree, college degree in a real estate related field. You can take the state exam. You have to take the classes, you have to qualify for it, and you have to apply to take it. But again, as I said to you all earlier, it's the same test. You've already passed it once. It's the same test. 23 questions, a little heavy on the trusting, the accounting, things like that. But and they're going to ask you broker questions. And so those are easy enough to determine what those are going to be. But you've already passed the test once. So you're going to pass it again. Okay. So I'm looking at my clock. It's actually winding me down. So, Antusa, let's you and I talk offline. But if anybody wants to talk to me about that or anything real estate related, send me an email, please. And I've got a 2-hour break before I do the next class, so I've got to go actually get something to eat. But I do look forward to our time together at 2 o'clock if you can make it back for that. So thank you all for being here. I wish you the very best. As we say from my hometown of Del Mar, we look forward to seeing you around the track. Take care for now, everybody. Bye-bye.